I'll say it again, like the jump off point. So just give that, your rundown and what was going through your mind and any, you know, the fun stuff that happened. That's what I like to hear about.
No doubt. Well, in the back of my mind, I'd been warned before we even got into this place that a dozer was lost in it when they were working on the lines. They had left one in there overnight, and apparently it sunk. So it's a lot of bedrock in the area, Jared. So I know that a lot of the bottom, even though it can be silty a good foot or so, you know that there's rock there somewhere. And knowing that things have sunk in there and there's shelves in there is probably the biggest risk, and makes you pucker the most. I think that factor.
Oh, yeah, the pucker thing, man. Because
Yeah,
I've seen lots of your videos where it's skag and rock and skag and rock, and I
yeah.
mean we don't deal with that here in Saskatchewan, but I'd be terrified to hold to the bars because goddamn no, I would find one of those rocks real fast.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, I know it's quite the adventure, man. It's a swamp nobody's really crossed it before on four-wheelers. And there's a reason why, is because the center of that channel at that time of the year, we measured it on the waders and stood beside the bikes, and it was right there. You'd be breathing it in, uh, you know, until you get across the halfway point. So we're really relying on the bikes to hopefully get enough momentum to skim a little bit, just enough to get you to the other bank was all it would take. And then, but then of course, the other problem was there's no winch point. So once you've made that leap, you're kind of committed, right? We got to get you got to get her out and up the other side, and there's no turning around because how do you turn a bike around in that without dropping the front end, right? So
Hmm. So is that a beaver run? Like to me, like where we are, like I'd call that a beaver run where you got the beavers dragging the logs, or is it a stream, or what? What is that?
actually, yeah, no, it actually flows through there. It's got like it's a channel, a center channel, and just erosion from, I would say, spring runoff as to where everything. This is a monstrous swamp. I mean, this swamp alone is probably, at least 500 acres or more. Um, and there's a lot of runoff. It's a really low point in a really high rocky area. So it's being just pounded with water runoff every spring. And this is just what I would call, the channel that all that water just continuously flows into spring fed. So no, I wouldn't call this a beaver, although there are tons of the beaver channels throughout this swamp. And that's another thing you just kind of got to be wary of, which we kind of located them after we got to the other side. We knew we could hold on to her for, right? But yeah, man, the first time I was in there, we tried to approach when the bikes were brand new, and I still had the cryptids on there. That was an awful, awful, awful mistake. It just wrapped the grass for some reason. It would just wrap it. I don't know, with the lug spacing on the tires, like the Assassinators and the Intercos, they seem to just let things go easier. Um, Even so, though, I mean, this thing is treacherous. You got to stop 4 times, 5 times before you get to the other side just to clear your boots, right?
Hmm.
You know.
Well, let's roll the clip here and give us a little background on what's going on, if you can.
Yeah,
Can you
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So in true ATV fashion, we coaxed NOS Boss into going first, take the lead.
It didn't seem too hard, actually.
No, no, he was pretty destined that we were going to get to the other side of this swamp, and I honestly, I had my reservations. We searched out a spot that we thought was feasible because I don't know, I'd say 30 yards down upstream, 30 yards downstream, it was too deep everywhere. We found one spot that was kind of suitable. It was like, okay, at the halfway point, it's bad, but if you make it over the halfway point, you're good. So at this point, it's just how the hell are we going to get your bike out? But those Assassinators, man, Super ATV, my lord. Those tires are king. Look at that. He manned that one out himself, actually. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he had just enough traction to just kind of walk it out.
Yeah, just enough bit into that bank. That's impressive, man. Yeah, and he's admiring his HMFs. He just put that full system, ceramic coated. And I'll tell you, man, I'm a big fan of the RJWC, but that HMF, there's nothing wrong with that choice either, boys. Holy
The only
wicked.
thing I don't like about that HMF is it kills your right ear. It just dumps right on that right ear and not out the back.
has more of a drone to it. And I think you can tell with the audio between his GoPro 5 and my GoPro 5, they're both the same cameras. And you'll notice when you watch the footage as it switches, his is a bit more muffled. And I think it's caused by a bit of a drone from the exhaust system, possibly. I know it's a little lower, definitely a little lower tone.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I'm screwed here, eh?
You're lining up. You're having second thoughts, I can tell. Well, maybe
Oh,
not.
I'm like, son of a bitch, you made it. Son of a bitch, you made it. Now we gotta go, boys. Yeah, man. Yeah, this is, in places like this is where the STM really shines too, because the constant resistance and load that are on the tires. I mean, we're on a waterbed, right? So as soon as you hit that throttle, everything drops. It's just sapping the energy out of your machine like quicksand. So you really rely on that grip, man, and that's where I like the full primary, man. Does a great job. And there we go, eh? Just enough jam to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really gap that one. Not full gap, but yeah. I'm always scared of either going in too front heavy,
Yeah.
or the other way. So those are always risky maneuvers for me.
Looking at it now, it's so evident that with a reflash and a little shot of the NOS, you're just going to skip across this one without any issues. You got a good 18, 19 feet, and you're clear to the other side. I think you'd skip right across.
Yeah, if you could get enough momentum before you had to launch. I don't know how soft is it
Yeah.
on the other bank that
Well,
you're
that's
launching from.
yeah, that's the problem right there. Is like I said, is as the more throttle you give, the more the ass end really sort of sinks in, and the more energy is being lost in a sense. So you really have to crawl into this situation and try to build it slowly, right?
Right.
Otherwise, you lose all traction when she bites loose as well, right? Look at that grass.
Yeah,
That's
just wrapped around everything.